Jai Hind, dear students. I'm Dr. Preeti Mittal, and today we are having the second part of our chapter Sound. In the previous video, we have seen the terminology, the characteristics of the sound waves. Now, today, the topic that we are going to start with is reflection of sound. Whenever you have visited any hilly areas, especially at a great height surrounded by mountains, you must have tried one thing, that there is a echo point. Means from where you can shout something and you can hear your voice back. So if you shout science, then you will hear science, science, science multiple times. So that is the phenomenon responsible for that is reflection of sound. Sound waves gets reflected back after striking different objects, and this reflection of sound waves follows the laws of reflection of sound, that is quite similar. It's exactly actually the same as you have read about reflection of light in class 8. So what are the laws of reflection of sound? The angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. So whatever is a sound wave, if it is striking an object, and this is the normal drawn to that object, that is a 90-degree at that particular object, then the reflected ray will be having the same angle as the angle made by the incident ray of sound. Second point of law of reflection of sound is the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal, they all lie in the same plane. So these laws are same as that of the laws of reflection of light. Next, a very beautiful phenomenon related to sound is reflection of sound that we can hear as distinguishing from each other. That is echo. Echo is when you call out something and you are able to hear your words back again. That is echo. Why this echo occurs at hilly areas or when you are surrounded by mountains? What is that echo point? When there are certain things which are at great distance from you, so that the sound waves can get stuck with them and get reflected back to your ears, so that you can hear able to hear that. That is known as echo. For an echo to occur, you must be at an open space only. You can't hear echo at a closed space, because that distance required, minimum distance that is required for echo, that is a large distance. Why that minimum distance is required? The human eye, the human ear, sorry, the human ear can hear two sounds distinguishedly if if the time between the two sounds is at least zero point 0.1 seconds. So the time interval between two sounds needs to be at least zero point 0.1 second. Then only our brain will be able to interpret two different sound waves. Now, in case of echo, if we imagine that this is the time, and suppose let's imagine that at 20 degrees Celsius, when the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius, the speed of sound is, let's suppose, 344 meter per second. Suppose the sound speed is 344 meter per second. Then when we want to hear the echo, if you are standing here shouting, the sound will go to a place, get struck by that place, and it will return back. So your ears will be able to appreciate the sound only if minimum time taken by the sound to go and again come back, that should be zero point 0.1 second. If the velocity of sound is 344 meter per second, let's calculate how much distance the sound should cover before reaching your ears. So you all know that distance is equals to speed into time. So it's 344 into 0.1, that will make it 34.4 meters. So this sound waves should travel a distance of 34.4 meters before coming to your ears. then only you will be able to hear that echo. So, how much should be the minimum distance between you and that mountain or whatever is that obstruction in the pathway of sound due to which the sound is getting reflected? How much should be the minimum distance? This total distance covered by the sound wave should be 34.4. So, the distance between you and the obstruction should be at least 34.4 divided by 2, that will make it 17.2 meters. Why is this 17.2? Because the sound is going to travel towards that mountain for 17.2 meters and again come back for 17.2 meters. So it will take a total distance of 34.4 meters, and then only it will be covering the time as 0.1 second. If the distance is more than this, then also you will be able to hear that echo, and if the distance is less than this, you will not be able to hear that echo properly. You will not be able to make out a difference between the two sounds, and then it will be not called as echo. Okay, so the minimum distance that should be there between the source of sound and the obstruction, if the speed of sound is 344 meter per second, that distance is 17.2 meters. Okay, I hope that is clear to you all. Now, you must have heard sometimes reverberation, but you will say, no, ma'am, I haven't heard reverberation. You have heard it. I know that. I'll make you recognize that where you have heard that. Reverberation during the Diwali, like when it is cleaning going on at home, you must have observed when you clear up all the things from your room, then sometimes you feel that whatever you are saying, that voice is persisting in that room, and the persistence of that sound in the room, that is only known as reverberation. Now, what is this persistence of sound? Persistence means udhar hi rehna. It is there only. So, you must have felt आवाज का गूंजना. That आवाज का गूंजना, when you can hear that something voice is like there is some disturbance in the noise, but you can't make out two different sounds. ओके, आपको इको सुनाई नहीं देगा, वापस आपकी साउंड सुनाई नहीं दे रही है, बट व्हाट यू आर फीलिंग इज दैट आवाज का गूंजना. So when the room is empty, especially at the time of Diwali, like cleaning, when the cleaning is going on at home, you remove all the curtains and you remove all the things from the room, the sofa, the chair, everything. When you remove all these things, then you can hear that reverberation. So this Diwali, when you clean, when the cleaning is going on in at your home, just try to recognize that reverberation. Okay, so that आवाज का गूंजना, that is reverberation, and when you can hear the sound coming back clearly, that is echo. Okay, reverberation could be there in open space or in closed space. It in both the places could be, but this echo requires at least 7.2 meter distance between the source and the obstruction, so that is possible usually in a open space only. Okay, now one more thing is there, sometimes you hear your sound multiple times. So if you are calling out signs, then multiple times you will hear back signs, signs, signs. So why it is occurring multiple times? Because it is striking many objects. So distance between, for example, if it is striking different mountains, distance between you and one of the mountain is different, and then it is coming from the second mountain also, that distance is different, and it is striking a third mountain also, and that distance from you is also different. So the time at which the different sound waves are getting reflected back, that will be different, and you can hear your own sound multiple times. Okay, apart from that, there is a multiple reflection of sound also, but before that we need to know that how we can reduce this reverberation. This आवाज का गूंजना or reverberation could be very annoying if you are sitting in a concert hall and you want to listen to a lecture and there is a lot of reverberation. You will not be able to hear the sound properly. and we need to decrease this reverberation. How we can reduce this reverberation? By using fiber board. Means a board is there, so that is made up of fiber that will absorb the sound waves. Apart from that, chairs, table, draperies. What are draperies? It's given in the book now. So what are draperies? Draperies includes thick curtains or thick like some cloth pieces that are usually hung in concert halls so that they can absorb the sound. The seat material of the seats is also selected in such a way that can absorb maximum sound waves, so that can reduce reverberation. All such things like wood, uh, cloth, fabric, they all absorb the sound and reduce the reverberation. Now, I would like to add up one thing here that is not there in your NCERT book, that the plants play a very important role in reducing not only air pollution but also noise pollution, because the sound waves are absorbed by the plants as well. So if there are plants around, so whatever the noise pollution is created by the vehicles, so that will be absorbed by the plants. So we all know that plants reduce air pollution, but not only air pollution, they reduce noise pollution also. Okay, that it was something related to sound, so I just told you. Okay, now we have certain uses or applications. Uses or applications means the same only. So uses of multiple reflection of sound. So sound waves gets reflected back after striking any surface, and they don't only get reflected back once, they can get reflected back many times, and there are certain uses of this multiple reflection of sound. One of the use of this multiple reflection of sound is seen in musical instruments. Musical instruments like shehnai, or you have trumpet. Trumpet you must have seen with a bandmaster. No? It's a long tube-like structure, and there's something which we can move to and fro and produce different sounds. Okay. So जब भी बारात में गए होंगे, that time you must have observed a trumpet. So a shehnai, trumpet, they are all based on multiple reflections of sound. They have a typical shape that is having a conical shape, a long tube-like structure is there, and that end of the tube-like structure, it ends into a conical shape. So that when the sound enters into that shape, it gets reflected back multiple times, and after multiple reflections, it comes out and that produce a very nice sound. So this multiple reflection of sound is the basis for the working of musical instruments like shehnai and trumpet. Okay. Apart from that, one more application or one more use of multiple reflection of sound is seen in a stethoscope. You must have seen a stethoscope like this with a doctor. Whenever you have consulted a doctor, doctor must be having, I'll just show it to you. A doctor must be having a stethoscope. This is a stethoscope. So what is there? The stethoscope is used to hear the sound of the heart or the lungs, and that could be heard by the doctor. So this piece is known as diaphragm, that is kept on the chest of the patient, and the doctor can hear the sound coming from that organs through this part. Okay, so this is also an application of multiple reflection of sound. When the sound enters from here and it gets multiple times reflected in this tube like structure and could be heard by the doctor through this part. Okay, so stethoscope is another application of multiple reflection of sound waves, right? Next, another use of that is in the concert halls. In the concert halls, when many people are sitting together, just try to observe the next time. In big concert halls, usually the roof is made in a dome shape. Sometimes even a soundboard is placed at the back of the stage. At the back of the stage also soundboard is placed so that it is having this kind of a shape. It is having this shape, And so what happens when the sound is coming from this particular part, it will get struck on this sound board, and after striking it, it will get reflected back, and so the sound will be uniformly distributed to all the people sitting in the concert hall. And for that reason only, we construct the roof as of the concert hall in a dome shape, so that all the sound waves, after getting reflected back, reach to each and every person sitting in that hall. Okay, so these are the three applications or three uses of multiple reflection of sound. I hope that is clear to you all. All this is important from this chapter. Now, after dealing with the reflection of sound, the next topic that we are going to take up is range of hearing. Okay. Normally, the human ear can hear the sound waves that are having the frequency between 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, or we can call it as 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Why 20 kilohertz? This kilo stands for the thousand. Okay, so 1000 is equals to 1 kilo. So instead of 20,000 hertz, you can write 20 kilohertz also. Both are correct. So the human ear normally can hear the sound waves between the frequency of 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. And the sound waves that is below this frequency is known as, that is below 20 hertz, just recall by yourself, that is known as infrasound, also known as infrasonic waves, infrasonic sound waves. And if it is above 20 kilohertz, if it is above 20 kilohertz, then it is known as ultrasound waves. Ultrasound waves or ultrasonic waves. Okay, so the normal range for hearing for a human ear is between 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. If it is below 20 hertz, that type of sound waves which are below 20 hertz having a frequency less than 20 hertz are known as infrasound waves, and the sound waves that are having the frequency above 20 kilohertz are known as ultrasound waves. Okay, now what happens that it's the normal range just for human beings. In fact, some dogs and the children under 5 years of age can hear the sound waves up to 25 kilohertz. Okay, so up to 25 kilohertz could be perceived by dogs and children under the age of 5 years. Fine. Next, so there are certain animals that can produce and hear the sound waves that are infrasound waves. That includes whale, elephants, you know. So these are certain animals that can produce as well as hear the sound waves that are infrasound waves that are below 20 hertz. So that includes whales, elephants, rhinoceros. They can all hear infrasound waves. In fact, the when an earthquake is about to come, before an earthquake also some infrasound waves are produced, and that could be detected by some of the animals. And you must have observed that is often observed, you haven't observed that, but it's often observed that the animal starts running here and there and they become agitated before an earthquake. This is because of the reason that they can detect those sound waves, and that could lead to earthquake, so they are able to detect those waves. Okay. Next is ultrasound waves. Ultrasound waves includes the sound waves that are having the frequency that is more than 20 kilohertz. 20 kilohertz is ज़्यादा sound frequency होती है, that is known as ultrasound waves. And there are certain animals that can produce as well as detect ultrasound waves. Few examples of that are dolphins. Then we have bats, so dolphins, bats, some moles, some rats, they can produce and hear the ultrasound waves. And one very interesting thing is that bats catch their prey only by using these ultrasound waves. They don't use their eyes for catching their prey. They use these sound waves only to detect their prey and catch their prey. Okay, so the animals that can produce and hear ultrasound waves includes bats, dolphins, then moles are there, some varieties of rats are there. Okay, so that is about the range of hearing. But sometimes you might have seen that people find it difficult to hear even this normal range of voice sound that is produced, but they are unable to hear that, especially in the old age. Then they could be provided with hearing aid. So how does a hearing aid works? You must have seen people that who are not able to hear the sounds, they sometimes use hearing aid, and they put a hearing aid machine in their ears so that they can hear the sound waves normally. How does a hearing aid works? The sound waves are converted into electrical signals by the hearing aid, and these electrical signals are amplified means they are made louder. Okay, so these electrical signals are amplified, and after amplifying they are converted back into sound waves by a speaker. It converts the electrical signals back into sound waves. So what does a hearing aid do? In a hearing aid, the sound waves are converted into electrical signals. These electrical signals are amplified using an amplifier. Amplified means they are made louder. उनकी जो loudness है वो बढ़ा दी जाती है. And then through a speaker, again these electrical signals are converted into sound waves. Okay, so that is how a hearing aid works. Okay. Now, the last topic of the chapter, that is ultrasound waves. What are ultrasound waves and what are the various applications of ultrasound waves? So, we have seen that if the sound wave is having the frequency more than 20 kilohertz, that is known as ultrasound waves. So, now we are going to have to look about the applications of ultrasound waves. Okay, you can remember the applications of ultrasound waves by two ways, by dividing it into two parts. One is the industrial use of it, है ना? In industries or in machinery, how we are using it. And second is the medical use of these ultrasound waves. We are going to talk about both. Okay. So 2 points are there for industrial use and 3 points are there regarding the medical use of ultrasound waves. So first use of ultrasound waves is for cleaning purpose. Suppose we have certain pipes or certain instruments are there that are having a spiral shape, and there is some dirt, dust accumulated in these pipes, and we need to clean them. So they could be cleaned very easily by using ultrasound waves. These ultrasound waves can be propagated in a particular direction, and they will be helpful in removing. They are having very high frequency, and so they are able to remove the dust, grease, whatever particles are there in such of the instruments or such of the things are there which needs to be cleaned, that could be cleaned by using ultrasound waves. So if you have to clean this tube, you can put it in a cleaning solution and then pass ultrasound waves. All the dust and all grease, everything would be removed, and our instrument would be thoroughly cleaned. Very well cleaned. Thoroughly cleaned means very well cleaned and properly cleaned. Then second use of that is when you have to detect if there is any cracks in big metal blocks. Suppose we have a very big metal block and we have to use it for construction of some buildings, or we have a railway track. No, railway track is also a very good example for that. So if we have a railway track and we want to check that is there any crack in this, so we can detect that crack by using ultrasound waves. It's going to be very interesting. Just have a look. So suppose there is a crack here, and a crack in a railway track could be really dangerous. So we want to detect if there is any crack in this metal block. What we can do is we can send some ultrasound waves from here, from one end of the block we are going to send ultrasound waves, and we will be placing some receivers that will receive these ultrasound waves from the other end. So these are the receivers which are going to receive these ultrasound waves from the other end of the metal block. What will be there? These sound waves do not have any interference in their pathway. So these sound waves are going to the receiver. But if there is a crack in between the pathway of some of the ultrasound waves, they will get reflected back. They will not be able to reach up to the receiver, but they will be reflected back. And so by this we can make out, since they are not going to the receiver, that will give, we will get the information that there must be some crack in this metal block at this place. Okay, and that distance could also be calculated by calculating that how much time the sound has taken to come back. By that we can calculate what is the distance of the crack from the starting point. Okay, so this is one of the very good applications of ultrasound waves. Now we come to the medical uses of ultrasound waves. So there are three applications for that. First is echocardiography. Echocardiography means medical uses. First, otherwise it is the third application of ultrasound waves, that is echocardiography. This echo word only suggests that the sound waves is going to strike something and return back. And based on that only, cardio word stands for a heart. Wherever cardio word is there, that represents human heart. So what will be there? The sound waves will be sent, and that will get you the images of the heart. So by that you can check the walls are proper or not, whether your heart is working properly or not. So proper imaging of the heart could be obtained on the screen by using this echocardiography, that is utilizing the ultrasound waves. Okay, now remember one thing, this echocardiography is not same as ECG. This is not same as ECG. ECG is something different. In ECG, that is electrocardiogram. Okay, that's not given in this chapter, but I'm just telling you for that for your information. ECG stands for electrocardiogram, in which electrical signals of the heart are recorded. But here we are getting the images of the heart by echocardiography. Okay, you must have some heart ka echo karwana padega. So that stands for echocardiography using ultrasound waves. Now, apart from that, you must have heard about sonography. है ना, sonography करवाना पड़ेगा, or ultrasonography. So that is the another medical use of ultrasound waves only, ultrasonography. The principle is the same, but echocardiography is specially used for heart, and ultrasonography could be used for any of the body organs. It could be used to visualize your liver, lungs, kidney, or if there are any tumors in the body, or there are any stones in the gallbladder or in the kidney, or to visualize the urinary bladder or the uterus. All these internal organs could be visualized by the technique ultrasonography. Okay, so suppose if this is your kidney and there is some tumor or some stone in the kidney, then what will be there? The density of tissues here is different from rest of the tissues. So the number of sound waves that are reflected back from this area will be different as compared to the rest of the kidney. And so by this technique we can make out if there are any tumors, if there is some abnormal growth, if there is some stones, that all could be detected by this method. Okay, sonography is also commonly done to visualize a baby. When a baby is growing inside a mother's uterus, the baby could be seen, could be visualized through the ultrasonography. So you can find out before the birth of a child only that if the baby is having certain congenital anomalies or some abnormalities are there, so that all could be detected before the birth of a child only. Okay, congenital anomalies means at before the birth of a child only the baby is having certain defects. So all that could be visualized by using ultrasonography, which we in common language we all call it as just sonography. Okay. Now, the next application of ultrasound waves is to remove any renal stones. Even renal stones means kidney stones. If there are certain stones in the kidney, that could be removed by ultrasound waves. So these ultrasound waves are projected towards a stone, and that stone is crushed into pieces by using these ultrasound waves. When it is crushed to pieces, now it will be expelled out of the body along with the urine. Okay, isn't it interesting? So by using all these methods, these are all the applications of ultrasound waves. Quickly we'll revise that, we will have a recap. So applications of ultrasound waves, first one we have seen for cleaning purpose. When it's hard to reach places have to be clean, at that place we can use ultrasound waves. Then to detect any cracks or flaws in the metal blocks, that we can use ultrasound waves for that. Then we can use ultrasound for echocardiography, ultrasonography, and removal of any stones from the kidney. Okay, so these are all the applications of ultrasound. So by that we have completed with everything from the sound chapter. Now we are just left with the numerical part, that is from the sound chapter. If you want me to explain those numericals, please let me know in the comment section, and if you want me to move on to the next chapter, then also please let me know.